What is up, YouTube? Hello, Party Parrots. It is Patch Day in Marvel Snap, one of my favorite days of the month, honestly. And that means not only did we get new changes to things like VFX and visuals, and get cool changes to like the prism effect on cards. If you haven't seen, they've changed how prism works. It looks so cool now. But we also got data mines so that we can look ahead at some of the cards and perhaps new acquisition models for cards that might be coming to Marvel Snap. So we're going to break that down for you guys. But please, if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps grow the channel. I love making these videos. So if you like them too, please, it just shows the world to me. But we're going to start down breaking down the new cards that are data mined to be coming, and also data breaking down why I think we might be getting a new way to unlock cards. So let's start here with Gorr the God Butcher. And I want to start off by saying that these are data mines. So that means there is a good chance that not all of these cards will make it to Marvel Snap exactly how they are here. They might get slight changes, maybe a slight buffs or nerfs. They might get completely reworked. Some of these cards might not even come at all. It has happened before. However, in general, most of these cards will make it in some form to Marvel Snap, and this lets us know, have a good idea of what's coming. And starting with Gorr the God Butcher, this is a sweet card with a really cool effect. He is a 6 -3 with the ongoing ability, so pretty crazy stat lines, but you'll see why, because he has the ongoing of +2 power for each on reveal card in play. So that's going to include you and your opponent. So this is a huge 6-drop that can just get really big. And I like this card because a lot of the 6-drops we've been getting lately have just kind of been generically good 6-drops. I think Emperor Hulkling, Red Hulk, these are cards that you just kind of put in your deck and they're good, they're just like Magneto and Doctor Doom, they're just solid 6-drops, but they're not really build around cards. And I think Gorr is a build around card. This is much more like a Spectrum, an Onslaught, Null, these big 6-drops that you can really just kind of build your deck around and get huge amounts of power. So to kind of think about what he's going to be doing. He's going to be getting +2 power for each on reveal card in play. And if you are only playing, like, let's say a 2-drop with an on reveal like White Widow or Hawkeye Kate Bishop, and then you play like Thor into Beta Ray Bill into Mighty Jane Foster, and then on turn 6 you play Gorr with those 2 hammers, that's 6 on reveal cards that you played. That's going to be 12 power -3 because he has starts with -3 power. So that's a 6/8 +2 power for each on reveal card that your opponent's going to have. And looking at it, there are a lot of on reveal cards that are in the game. Cards like Loki, cards like Hawkeye Kate Bishop, most of the arrows are all going to be powering this card. I think we're going to regularly see 3 or 4 cards from your opponent. So if you can build a deck that even has like 5 or 6, this card's going to be a 6/14, a 6/16. There's going to be matchups where this pushes up to being a 6/20. I think this is a really cool and unique effect. Now, I will say, I don't think this is the most Gorr the God Butcher effect I've ever seen. He's not really butchering any gods here. He's not really, he's just kind of a big thing, but it is a really cool effect, and I do love this art and card, so I am really excited for it. So I'm going to give this card a 4 stars because I think it's a really cool build around. I think it can be really big. And to think about some more synergies that this is going to have, I think one way that you can play this is by getting rid of that -3 entirely. If you play Bast, or if you play um, Mr. Negative to invert it, that's going to already like flip that -3 into 3 power or into 6 power if you're playing with Mr. Negative, or Agent Venom is data mined to becoming up to 4 power. And then it's just a 6/4 or a 6/3 with this ongoing is crazy big. Mr. Negative, that deck actually does play a lot of on reveals. Not, the most amount of, but it has like Psylocke. It's often playing like Arnim Zola, Sages. It often has like Wong things. So I think that deck, in fact, Gorr would actually slide into it. Not just because it has negative power, but you're going to be playing a lot of on reveals. And then there's also just playing this card fairly. If you're expecting your opponent to be playing 4 or 5 on reveal cards, That's already going to put this at a 6-5. You really only need to put 5 or 6 on reveal cards yourself. Cards like Hawkeye Cape Bishop, a lot of the clog packages, those cards will already have so many on reveals that I think this card is going to be a really sweet addition to the game. I think there's going to be a lot of ways to play him. I personally am going to be trying him out with Wiccan because I think a lot of the Wiccan decks, you play a 1 drop into Hawkeye Cape Bishop, into, you know, Loki or any 3 drop with an on reveal, then you slam Wiccan. You are often, I mean, if that's 4 on reveals right there, next turn you can drop a Gorr and then play more on reveals and just really take advantage of that extra energy. So I'm really looking forward to this card. Next up, we have Surtur, and this is a really cool card. But one thing I want to also remind everyone is that we don't actually know which of these cards is going to be like a season pass card, and I think that's because this patch is dropping a bit earlier than some of the other ones. We still have like 11 days left in August, and sometimes patches wouldn't come out until the month after the last patch. So I think that's why we don't have like season pass image and like the whole season thing. I think it's pretty obvious that it says Guardians, but which card's going to be the season pass is still up for debate. But it would not surprise me at all if it was Surtur, the bringer of Ragnarok, because he has an absolutely crazy ability. He is a 3/3 with the ability of after you play a card with 10 or more power anywhere, just if you play a card with 10 or more power, this gains +4 power. So if you get just even playing a Magneto out or even a Hulk will make this card a 3/7. Just no other cards that matter. Not to mention, you can play this card with cards like Coal Obsidian, Sasquatch or Mockingbird, Scar. Scar is going to get cheaper for every card you play with 10 or more power. This card is going to get bigger with every card you play 10 or more power. I think Surtur and Scar is a really key, like, really obvious home for each other. And I mean, if you play 3 or 4, it's +4 power. That's going to be 12 power on top of that 3. If you play 3 cards out, that's 4, 8, 12 plus 3, 15 power. Just going Coal Obsidian into a Sasquatch into any 6 drop with 10 or more power. I mean, that is an absurd stats on a 3 drop. Now he is going to be, susceptible to Shadow Kings, Shang-Chi's, but at that point you're not really investing too much. This is a 3/3. I have to give this card 5 stars. I'm not sure how much, unique deck building there's going to be, but if this card releases with these stats, I think card is going to be mega powerful and absolutely be a threat in the meta. So I am looking forward to Surtur. Next up, we have Fenris Wolf, based off of Fenrir from Norse mythology. So if I called him Fenrir, that's why. But Fenris Wolf is a 2/3 with the activate ability of resurrect the highest power discarded or destroyed enemy card to your side of this location. And this is a really cool and really unique effect. I really love what this card's doing. So if you Activate is a new ability. Let's quickly break that down. That's supposed to be coming in the new patch, in the new season in this September in only a few weeks. And we're not entirely sure exactly what it's supposed to do, but it seems like it's going to be an ability. You play it, you cannot activate it the turn you play it, and then later you can basically click the card and then activate that ability. We don't know if you can say play a card and then activate it, or if like activating the card happens at the beginning of the turn, like moving cards does. We're unsure about that, but this is still a really cool ability. And this is the card that I think a lot of people are saying is a buff to Shang-Chi. And in some ways, I think it is. Now, I think this card was obviously really good with Shang-Chi. If you can destroy an enemy card that has 10 or more power on turn like 4 or 5, then activate this Fenris Wolf, get it back. That is just an absurd swing. You're almost certainly going to be winning that game. However, I think it's important to keep in mind most people know that Shang-Chi is in Marvel Snap now. The days of, people forging into Gladiator and then they just Shang-Chi that and, you get that on turn 4. Like, most people aren't playing their huge cards out until the later turns if they can help it. And if you can't activate this, if this like card gets activated at the beginning of turn 6, you might not even be able to Shang something on turn 6 that they like played on turn 5, like a Darkhawk or something, and get it back. Now maybe you can. And it would be really good in that case. And I think this is a card that you're going to want to play with Shang-Chi because Monster Island exists, Gamma Lab, Shuri's Lab. There are like locations. People sometimes will just play out, Project Pegasus comes up and they just play out a Magneto or something. So there are games where you're going to be able to play this on turn two, Shang-Chi out a, you know, Red Hulk that came out of a X Mansion, and then get it back on your side of the board for a huge swing. So I think you're going to want it with that, but I think you need more of a plan than that because again, most people know that they might be expecting a Shang-Chi and will kind of try to play around that. And so I really like this card in like deck like Killmonger because if you play Killmonger and hit like a Kitty Pride, even like a 1/3 Kitty Pride, or you hit like an Iceman, just any amount of that, because this is a 2/3 stat line that has been data mined. If you can hit like even a 1/2 card with a Killmonger or anything like that, that is going to be a really nice swing. You could also play it because it's discarded with Moon Knight. I could really see this going like turn two Fenris Wolf into Moon Knight. 6 drops are even costs. So are 4 drops. You could hit like a like a Coal Obsidian or something, and then activate, get that back. And if you're playing a, Moon Knight deck, I think you might be wanting Shang-Chi. Maybe you play Shang-Chi and Moon Knight. Maybe you play Shang-Chi and a Killmonger. And then you play these cards that, really make sure that you're going to get value out of that Fenris Wolf while also just giving you sometimes that nuts Fenris Wolf into Shang-Chi, monster from the Monster Island, and then just have an absolutely insane thing. It also maybe work really well with something like Gladiator, where you play this on 2, Gladiator on 3. If you pulled out something too big, oh no, you Shang it on 4, bring it back on turn with your Fenris Wolf, really powerful. And even if you don't pull out something too big, Gladiator will destroy it. So I think Gladiator could be another really key card. Again, I think this card is going to be really fun. I'm really excited for it. And I think, though, you are going to have to build around this card more than some people are expecting. And I'm really excited to build around it because, I mean, look at him. What a good boy. Next up, we have Tombstone. And kind of going away from the Asgardians, there actually were 2 more Asgardians that were in the data mine. I'll bring them up here at the end of the video, but we have no text for them. So there's not really much to speculate or show you guys besides their art and that they are in spotlight caches. So it does seem like that they will be coming, but who knows what they're going to be doing. But Tombstone, which my guess is that this is going to be coming in the month after the Asgardians. We got a couple of Spider-Man-y cards, so we might be going back to like a Spider-Man season. I know Craven's going to be releasing in December, so it could be then. But, who knows? Again, this is all data mined, all subject to change. And so let's break down Tombstone. He is a 4/6 with the ability of costing 1 if an enemy card was destroyed last turn. So this is kind of like a Miles Morales, only instead of looking for a card to have moved last turn, Tombstone's looking for a an enemy card to have been destroyed. And this is actually an ability that I've really wanted in the game. Like a card that gets cheaper when an enemy card is destroyed, I think is really cool. Funnily enough, I actually like kind of designed my own version of this many months ago. That was Curse, who is an Asgardian. So it's funny that this is in this patch. But I think this is a card that can work really well with something like Killmonger if you're just playing like a Killmonger mid-range deck, or Lady Deathstrike if you're planning on playing like Sentry into, like Annihilus or Lady Deathstrike, and then that last turn you can drop Tombstone. And then he also combos really well with Yandu because Yandu technically destroys an enemy card. So that's kind of like just a 1/2 that will always trigger Tombstone. So you can always get that 1/6 if you want to build around Tombstone. So maybe we'll like him in like a mill deck that sometimes play Yandu. Not sure. I gave him a 3 out of 5 because a 1/6 is powerful, but he's a bit restrictive, but I don't think he's going to be too restrictive that you won't be able to build around him. Cards like Lady Deathstrike, even Shang-Chi will probably fit into most of those decks, though, again, a lot of times you're not Shang-Chiing until the last turn anyways, so who knows how well he's going to be consistently with that. But overall, this is a really sweet card. I'm really happy to get Tombstone coming into the game. Now, to break down these next 2 cards, first, I want to tell you guys what I think these next 2 cards are, because these cards have no spotlight cache data mined. They're not going to be the season pass card, so we don't really know how we're going to be getting these cards. But I have a theory, and I think it's a strong one, even though, again, this is just my theory. I have no insider information. But what I think these cards are these are going to be Deadpool Diner-esque reward cards. So kind of how we got Cassandra Nova, where you could unlock that card for free just by playing through like the Deadpool Diner event. I think that's how you're going to be able to unlock these cards. And my reason for this is the devs have expressed in previous interviews that one of the challenges to making Marvel Snap cards is there's no real room for like simple cards or not super unique cards. And they've brought up the direct example of the Iron Elbow, which I always thought was funny, but it's basically the Iron Fist that goes to the right. Instead of moving card to the left, it goes to the right. And they've basically been like, this is a card that we wanted to put into Marvel Snap, but there's no reason, like, it's no one's going to be super excited about it. Even like move players are kind of like, oh, Iron Fist that goes to the right, even though it might be a good card, it might see a decent amount of play in some like beast bounce decks. It's just not a card that they really want to work on programming into the game, commissioning art for, getting VFX for, putting in a spotlight cache, bringing back out of a spotlight cache, like putting all of that into these cards for a very simple effect, and then to have people be mad. Like people would probably be upset if their spotlight cache that week was Iron Fist to the right. And so they've expressed that that was an issue for them. Then we got the Deadpool Diner event, and that event gave us a card that we basically got for free. If you just played through the event, you could just get that card. And I think that the devs may have seen this as a success. And if they did, they've expressed that they're going to bring back the Deadpool Diner event. They might be looking for some kind of simple effects that, not bad effects or not powerful, but just cards that like don't really like, oh, I'm gonna build so many decks around this, or this completely changes Marvel Snap, but just cool effects that they want to put into the game. They don't want to charge us 6,000 credits for, and they don't want to also put straight into Series 3 because if they're going to go through all the work of programming a card, they don't want to just put it out for free. So I think for a compromise, they're going to be putting it into these kind of Deadpool Diner esque events. And so that's where I think these next two cards are going to be. And I'll tell you exactly why, because this card is Agony. And Agony is just a 1/2 with the ability, after you play a card here, merge this with it. So this is kind of like old Forge, where basically the next card you play will get +2 power. Agony's going to merge into that card, give it +2 power. But that's it. And I think that's a very simple effect that also, though, I really want to have in the game because this is a card that's going to work really well with something like Deadpool. If you're a destroy lover out there, you haven't really gotten a new card for a while. This could be a really nice buff to that deck. Same thing with like Multiple Man or Human Torch. You play Agony out, then you play Multiple Man into that, give it +2 power, destroy it. The Phoenix Force deck could really use a card like this. But it's not super exciting. Just like the Iron Elbow, like I don't think people are going to be wanting to spend 6,000 collector tokens on this, but I think this would be a great card if they bring back that Deadpool Diner event in the Symbiote season, that you could unlock this during that and just have a great card. Like I would love to have this in my collection, but it's just not the most exciting card. So I gave it a 3 out of 5. And again, I think this card is going to have homes. I think this card will be very playable. I'm actually kind of excited for this card. But I don't think this is like, the wow, this is going to change Marvel Snap. And I think that's okay. And if the devs have found a great way to give us cards like that, hopefully for very reduced cost, like, the Deadpool Diner event is free, I think this is going to be a really nice win. And people who are kind of struggling with their collection, feeling like they're not getting enough cards, well, a card like this every couple months could really help that out. So I'm really hoping they do that. And even not, I really like this effect. Now we have what is maybe the best card I've ever seen in a, you know, card game before, with Uncle Ben. Yes, that Uncle Ben. He has been floating around the data mines since the beta. Uh, he is a 1/2 with the ability, when this is destroyed, replace it with Spider-Man. And if that's not the most flavorful effect I've ever seen in a card game, I don't know what is, because killing Uncle Ben brings out Spider-Man. I mean, he's probably one of the most iconic characters in Marvel Snap. If I asked my parents who Tombstone, Agony was, they would have no idea. But Uncle Ben, they would know. And so I think this is another reason why we might be getting some of these like maybe cheaper cards, not in spotlight caches, not in season pass, because this is an effect that like is so cool, and I would love to have Uncle Ben in the game, but it's not an insane effect, you know, like okay, you can get a basically discounted Spider-Man by destroying this one drop. Like, okay, well Spider-Man's not that crazy of a card, but it's just such an amazing card. And I think and maybe it won't be Deadpool's Diner. Maybe we'll have it in like an Alliance store, you know, where like there's Alliance missions. You can get these new cards that are like kind of simpler but really great to have for again like way cheaper than that 6,000 collector tokens, but they can just put these cards that they really want to put in the game that tell such great stories or have such effects that are really nice to have but not crazy strong. And I really hope that's what they're doing with this because I really want Uncle Ben in the game. I really hope he's coming, hopefully in that Tombstone season. And there is actually one spot. So I gave him 2 out of 5 stars, and I don't think he's actually as bad. I've seen a lot of people being like, well, he's kind of unplayable. You know, oh, like Destroy's not really going to want this. Like, what other cards are going to destroy him? And you know, his payoff isn't good enough to build a deck around. Like, okay, you destroy a 1/2 and get a 3/5. Cool, like not bad, but you're not going to build a deck around this really. But one deck that I could see actually using this would be Surfer, because if you're playing, say, on turn 2, like Uncle Ben and then Nova, and then your turn 6 was going to be Killmonger and Silver Surfer, well, that'll give you another. This is basically a way to play a 3 drop on turn 1 and still be, you know, activating your Surfer. So I actually think he could be really cool in Surfer. I know that's where I'm going to put it, probably where most people will, but just an awesome effect, awesome flavor. I really hope they put him in the game because I would love to see Uncle Ben. And what a great, just great art, great flavor, great card. Next, we have 2 other new cards, but again, we don't have any text or power or toughness for them. So I'm going to break those down here with the spotlight caches. So if you're looking at what the spotlight caches that are data mined to be coming out in November are, here's where they are. We've got Fenris Wolf with Annihilus and Werewolf by Night. So that's a really, really great week to pick up if you're missing either of those cards. Both of those cards, very good, very fun. We have Frigga. She's one of the new cards. I mean, we have her art. I think it's safe to say she's coming. We just don't know what she does. And she's going to be coming with Thena and Valentina. Thena is a great card, so great to see that she's coming back so soon. If you missed out on her, really nice to have her. And great art on Frigga as well. And then you have Malekith. Again, we don't know what he's doing, but he's going to be coming with Red Guardian and Copycat. 2 amazing 3 drops, so really good week to open if you missed either of those cards. Presumably that if he has good abilities, because we don't know what they are. And then we have Havoc and Legion. We don't know what the card is that week. Could be Gorr, could be, uh, you know, anything. We also got King Ateri, who is we got art for him. He is a 5/3 with the on reveal. Give the next card you play +4 power. He had this in the closed beta. I don't think this is actually going to be his effects, so I didn't really want to break him down too much, but he will probably also be coming. Maybe he'll be that last card in that spotlight cache. Is unclear, but that's just giving you another peek. Look forward next month. Hopefully we'll have those data mines in for those cards and we can break down what those are. But for now, I'm going to then break down a couple of the changes that have come up in this patch as well. And then we got some changes to some of the cards that were already data mined. Again, these are data mines. A lot of these cards may change. And here's a couple that so far have been data mined to change. Starting with Aranya, who I think got a buff. She was originally a 2/2. Now she is a 1/1 with the same ability of activate, give the next card you play +2 power, and move it to the right. And I think this is actually going to just be a straight buff to her. And I already rated her really highly, and she's probably my #1 card for that whole month. So really excited for 1/1 Aranya. Then we have Madam Web. She was data mined as a 2/3 with just the insane ongoing ability of you can move one of your other cards away from here each turn. Now she's only a 2/1, and I think that's fair. I think she was really strong as a 2/3. I still think she's going to be really strong as a 2/1. Hopefully the kick in the pants move needs. So really excited for Madam Web. And then some of the symbiote cards got changed as well. Toxin was originally a 3/2, now is going to be a 2/1, and this is an insane buff. I gave Toxin a 5 out of 5 last month, and it seems like they're buffing him. Instead of being a 3-2 with the on reveal, return your other cards here to your hand, so bouncing them, then plus 2 power for each return. He's going to be a 2-1, so he's going to be even easier to slip into curves with like he's pretty much just a beast now that can be 7 power, and then you can even beast the toxin and then be like 15 power. I think this is going to be a absolutely insane card. I'm super excited for toxin. Scream went up a point of power. Really surprised by this because again, I thought Scream was going to be just absurd. Stealing 2 power potentially every turn is a 4-point swing on a 2 drop. To make that a 2-2, just really strong. Really looking forward to Scream. And then Misery. Misery was a 5-10 and is going down to a 4-7. So still really good stats. However, I really liked that 5-10 stat line. So I'm unsure how 4-7 is going to fit with him. Obviously fits easier onto curves, but 10 power is a lot and 7 is too. So I think all in all, I think this is more of a side grade. I don't really think it's a straight buff or nerf, but still really excited for Misery and all of these cards. And thanks so much. That's going to do it for this video. If you guys made it this far, please, it would mean the world to me if you could hit that subscribe button, leave a comment down below. Tell me what cards you are excited for because I am really excited for. How do you think these cards are going to be coming? Do you think we're just going to be getting like 7 or 8 cards in a month, or do you think there's going to be a new way? Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video.